Hello, everybody. I am High Priest and nominated and elected Witch King of the Sacred Circle Covens. Um, my name is Star Soul, and today I would like to go over something that a lot of Wiccans and pagans in general just don't quite seem to want to get into, and that's simply preaching. We see a lot of people who claim to be priests and priestesses, and more we are encountering they seem to be more about the title than what it's actually supposed to be about. And something I'd like to convey is, if you are going to be a priest, if you are going to be a priestess, regardless of whether or not you have chosen to, how can we put this eloquently? If you've chosen to be a priest or priestess, yeah, years of study, knowing what you're doing, having a good grasp for the rituals, yeah, that's important. The other element that is equally important is preaching. A lot of pagans get hung up on that. They're afraid, oh, I don't want to be like Christians. But that's the problem. Pagans around the world are losing their spirituality. They are losing their faith to a degree. When you're a priest or a priestess, it's more than a title. I mean, you got to be out there essentially preaching. Now, by any means, we are not to recruit, because most pagans, Wiccans all agree, including myself, that that is spiritual harm. You don't recruit. What you have to do is basically live such a life with such a strong example that people see that light in you. And they wonder, well, what is he about? What is she about? And that's where stereotypes start to change. You're not going to be able to tell somebody about your religion to convince them you're good. You're not going to be able to tell a person, all the benefits of being a Wiccan or pagan. They're going to see it through your actions. And sadly, a lot of pagans these days have lost that. A lot of pagans don't believe in harm none. A lot of Wiccans do. That's one of the few differences that they have. But the whole thing about harm none, which is something I personally subscribe to, is it takes a whole book for other faiths to detail two words: harm none. Harm none covers everything from stealing, killing, judging. We all know how hard judging is on any community. We get judged for, being pagan, being gender issues, sexual preferences. The only way we're ever going to officially be able to convince the world that we are other than a bunch of lesser class is by our actions. And in that today, I really want to talk about preaching. Preaching can be simple. You don't have to be in a coven to do it. What you do need to do is have a dedication to the God and Goddess. Anybody is going to sense and pick up, oh yeah, I can tell he's got some spirituality, or she's got some spirituality. And that starts with being selfless, having selfless acts. For perfect example, I do chaplain work, local hospitals, prison work. There's several pagans out there, Wiccans for that matter, that need that reminder. The Goddess loves us. The God loves us. In several texts, it doesn't matter which pagan or Wiccan tradition you follow. Almost all of the charges of the Goddess specifically say one thing: all things are going to return to them at the end of all time. That tells us there's no damnation. That tells us we are forgiven. Yeah, we're going to have our shortcomings as human beings, but the point I want to get across is they love us unconditionally. They created everything for us. The only thing the gods ever ask for us in return is our prayer. And not prayer for, oh, I need a new job, or oh, I need a new Hummer, or something like that. What they're wanting is you to pray and just give them thanks. Prayer works two ways. You're not going to expect a god or a deity of any sort to reward you if you're not paying attention to them. Why should they? I mean, yeah, they love you unconditionally, especially the creators. But why? Why in all of creation should they just give you everything if you're not giving them an ounce of your time? Something I challenge a lot of Wiccans, especially the coven that I run. Do 7-day periods where you'll just commit to a same time, if it's bedtime, morning, whatever. Just praying to the God, praying to the goddess, giving them their praise. Something simple. You don't even need to cast a circle for it. You just do it. But you have to do it selflessly. Because if it's not a selfless act, it's a selfish one. And that's something that is happening in our pagan communities. From druids to shamans to Wiccans to all manner of witches. We're losing our spirituality. And with the loss of spirituality, we start to lose morality. I mean, my grandfather always told me, you don't need religion to be a good person, but you do have to have empathy. And you don't have to be a full-fledged empath to be able to do that. You got to know right from wrong. You got to know treating people is going to come back to you one way or another. You know, you can run the person off out of the way whenever you're driving, not let them out in the traffic, and then 20 seconds later, nobody gives you a chance either. It could be cause and effect. It could be fate. It could just be, you know, run-of-the-mill. You know, it just happens. But why chance it? Why not be like, oh, you know, I see that person waiting. I can tell, you know, they need to get somewhere. Why don't I go ahead and sacrifice 20 seconds of my time to let them out in front of me? You know, because you don't know what that person is going through. You have no idea what that person could have been involved in that day. You know, karma is just one of those things that we gotta strive to make better. And it starts with spirituality. And for a priest and priestess, I challenge you. What are you doing to uplift fellow pagans? To the solitary, fully respect you. Total respect. I get it. You don't want to hang out with a bunch of people. You're scared to death, in some cases, not all, that you're going to be ridiculed or criticized because you're doing something different than what a coven is doing. Well, let me tell you, every time I've prayed, every time I've ever asked for anything, the goddess and God have always told me the same thing. They don't care. They don't care if you're not in sync with a coven. They don't care if you're not in sync with an open circle's actions. What they do care is how you are conducting yourself on a day-to-day basis amongst your fellow human beings. Again, spirituality. The solitary priest or priestess. Sign yourself up as a chaplain. Sign yourself up on Witchfox or Facebook or any place where you could deliver some type of message where somebody somewhere is going to relate to. People need that. We need community. And I'm not saying, oh, you know, go out and join a coven, because sometimes covens aren't for everybody. But what I am telling you is we still need community. I don't care if you are a shaman, a Wiccan, a new branch of paganism called the Purple People Eaters. We all need unity. We all need that spirituality. Even to the atheist pagans, you still have spirituality with nature. You still respect certain truths. Me personally, I mean, I'm not anywhere near an atheist. I am a full-fledged worshiper of the goddess and God. I have founded my own tradition through the help of others, partially named after me, Ericonian witches, since my first name is Eric. I do, these days, go by my craft name, Star Soul. I currently lead the Sacred Circle. There's a coven in Beckley, West Virginia, which I have been fortunate enough to be their voted-in leader for quite some time now. We have hive-offs, from one in a local prison to a couple in the area, and then a massive online coven called Wicca and Witchcraft, the Sacred Circle. We built communities, not to control, not to say, hey, we're leading the Wiccan world, or by any means, because some people get so up in arms about that. What we did do, we were led by the goddess and the god to create communities and bring people together. More than anything, if you get anything out of this simple ramble, which I'm trying to make into a sermon, didn't have a lot of time to prepare tonight, but the gods love us. And we need to remember that. We need to strive to love one another. We need to strive to love the Christian who bashes us. It's all about love. It's all about forgiveness. It's all about putting that good energy out there, so hopefully one day, instead of us being judged by what people think we are, they have to look at our actions and be like, whoa, why are they volunteering in a homeless shelter? Why are they volunteering at an animal shelter? Why are they going out and feeding the poor? Our church ain't doing that. What are they doing? What's their church about? Give people reason to think, but don't do it just because you feel like you have to. You gotta do it because you want to. And another thing, strive for the highest of ideals. Because if you don't strive for higher thoughts, higher ways of living, you're going to be left behind. You're going to fall into the slaveries and hells that man makes on this earth. Because we all know, as Wiccans and pagans, they love us too much to create a hell for us. You might have to be reincarnated a couple times, or, have other forms of things that you have to study in order to get better at it. But they love us. Doesn't matter. When we die, at some point we're going to be with them. All things return to them. It is said in every Wiccan book I've ever come across. From Buckland, Cunningham, Conway, the Furs, that list goes on and on. But that one truth that's always there, everything comes back to them. Everything at the end of life's cycle goes back to the goddess and God. And it is with that knowledge, it is with that meditation, with that prayer, that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, we will all be in Summerland. Some of you may still even call it heaven. That's cool. That's up to you. Regardless, we're going to be in a land of light, being better people, better beings, ascending into a new existence. And it's not going to happen unless your soul is evolving in this physical world while we're here. And that happens through love. That happens through forgiveness. That happens through just trying your best, no matter how hard it is, how hard you fall, how far you stumble. You've got to be a good person. And you have to do it because you want it, because you feel it, and because you know it's right. Another thing I'd like to touch on, homosexuality and Wicca, homosexuality and paganism. If there is anything out of years, and I'm talking, I've been playing around with Wicca since I was 10. I was raised by family members that practiced a lot of folk magic. And then by the time I'm 15, I fully give myself to studies. Start meditating, start actually developing that strong connection with the goddess first, and then the god later. And something they've always told me about that, and this is something that needs to be preached because I don't think a lot of people hear it. Homosexuals, gays, lesbians, transgendered, bisexual, those questioning. They're loved. Goddess, God love you. They created you that way for a reason. And what has been revealed to me through meditation and prayer is something simple. The God and Goddess knows that one day this world will overpopulate if everybody's a breeder. If everybody's out there having babies. Eventually, mankind will have numbers so great that it will overtake what nature is capable of sustaining. So she makes people that are infertile. She makes people that are attracted to the same gender. Not for the sake of cursing or punishing, but part of her natural order in nature's design to keep this world from overpopulating and taking more than what nature can provide. You were created divinely. You were created with a plan. And that plan, ladies and gentlemen who identify as LGBT, is one that's super simple. Goddess loves you. God loves you. You were made that way. When it comes to children, I've heard the Goddess tell me several times, there are several orphans in this world, and several people that will never have children. Take in those poor children. Take in children that will never have another chance at a normal life or someone loving them. Because that is part of your purpose. To take care of the children cast aside, just as other religions will cast aside you. To help set examples, show love, show mercy, be the better person. And it all falls back on love. In closing with this sermon, I know I've rambled a little bit. I challenge every Wiccan, every pagan, especially your clergy, start preaching. Ask the Goddess to give you a sign, a message to give. Ask the God to give you a message to give. Ask however many gods and gods you worship. Somebody give you a sign on what message you need to give. Let it be anything from sexual orientation, politics even. You know, there's several topics we can touch. Death, birth, reincarnation, love, hate, forgiveness, the degrees of harm. There's so many things that each of us could be working on. Because if we don't reach in and become strong, we can't uplift the weak. And here's something that the Goddess has told me time and time again. When it comes to being a priest or a priestess, it doesn't matter if you are 2nd degree or 3rd degree. You have got to uphold the weak. You've got to inspire them. It doesn't matter if you're solitary or a coven leader. Arrange open circles. Have a party at your house. Invite a few people over, because covens are supposed to be kept kind of small anyhow. Uplift those people. Remind them that they're loved. Because one day you're going to be gone. And if you haven't uplifted the weak, because there's a lot of people out there who are meant to be a priest or a priestess. They're weak though. They're afraid. They don't have the strength to do it. So you lend your strength. You help guide them. Because the whole purpose about being a priestess or a priest is that one day you're gone. And the light inside you is meant to be so bright that that's what attracts people to you. That's what shows the world through your actions, not your words, what kind of person you really were. And how strong paganism and Wicca, or whatever branch of paganism in general that you follow, they're not going to embrace it unless they see your actions. And with those actions comes the light that you shine. And when you uplift a weak person, especially one meant to be a clergy, you give them a light brighter than you have. Shouldn't be about jealousy. Shouldn't be about who has the most power. It should be about inspiring those around you to carry a brighter torch than you do. So that one day they pass on a torch that's brighter than what they have. and so on, and so on. Because the only way we're going to make a difference, it ain't by what we say, ladies and gentlemen. It's by what we do. I ask that people take this sermon to heart. And feel free to follow me on my YouTube channel or my Facebook group, which is Wicca and Witchcraft, The Sacred Circle. There you can find several of my sermons and lessons, which are free to anybody that belongs to that group. I'll also have a book, and I know I'm going to catch criticism for this. Goddess has already told me it's coming, but be strong. I have crafted my own tradition called the Ericonian Witches. It is not necessarily Wiccan. It is definitely under the pagan umbrella. Our tenets are nature, of course. We are a white magic group. We believe that there is a goddess and a god, and that every place on earth, every geographic location, has been worshiping the same goddess and god. The only difference is each location had different names for them. That is something the goddess and God has revealed to me. I believe it in all my heart. They have led me to be writing a text for my group, which will be eventually on Amazon and Kindle. It will be self-published at this time. And feel free to check it out. I'll be posting it on Wicca and Witchcraft, The Sacred Circle, whenever it's finished. I'm going to try to keep the price very reasonable. And other than that, we've got to start working together. We've got to start loving people. We've got to start setting examples. Because if you do not set the examples, how do you expect people to perceive pagans and Wiccans and witches any different? You got to live the example, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care if you're solitary or if you're a covener. If we do not stand up, there is one thing and one thing for certain the goddess has shown to me. We will set ourselves up to fail. We will be our own worst enemies and will allow another burning time to take place. We are at a crucial part in this world. Things are changing. Laws are changing. And if people don't start standing up, working together, I don't care what kind of pagan you are. Find pagans. Talk to them. Make friends. There's going to be differences. But find the things that you have in common. Build from that. Work from that. Because when you work from that, great things can happen. Build your covens, build groups, create all kinds of different things. Create doctrines of your faiths that decree what's right and wrong for your branch of paganism. So that way it's legally documented. Because when the war of religion comes, and it's coming, and I'm not trying to knock Christians because I know a lot of wonderful Christians who truly believe and follow things of the New Testament. But if we do not protect ourselves through the law of man, by decreeing what our religions truly say, and I'm talking about gay rights, racial marriage in all of its avenues, we've got to start decreeing what our religions state. Because if we don't, eventually when the religious wars do return, and they'll be political, that's the way they're going to go this route. We got to protect ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. And it starts with love. It starts with living the example. Because if you live the example, you are going to put off a light so bright. And this is why we don't recruit. Because when people are looking for witchcraft, when people are looking for paganism, when they are looking for Wicca, they're going to see how you're living and think to themselves, I like those people. They're nice. They don't judge. They actually help and act like they give a crap. They go around talking to one another, not segregating themselves. And that's the message, ladies and gentlemen. start loving, start helping, start preaching, and start striving for the highest of ideals. Because if you don't, all you do is allow evil to roam freely. And when evil roams freely, it hurts everybody. Not just you, not just me. We have to work together. We're in this together. Part of being a witch is to fight evil. Part of being a Wiccan or a pagan is to love, to respect and protect our nature. Because if we don't protect nature, it's going to be gone. We have to work together. We're in this together. And we can't do it alone unless other people are helping. I've noticed that the American Witches Council is trying to revive. Yeah, it's caused a bit of a stir. But I ask you this. How about, before you judge what they're actually about, why don't you pay attention for a minute? They've been saying March 1st is when they announce everything, so you can see who they are, who they're about, what their goals are. And to my knowledge, it's revamping or revisiting the principles that were set in the 1974. Most of those principles don't really truly apply to pagans and Wiccans today. Sure, they could use some new verbiage and maybe even some new principles to help protect our people. And if anything, we should strive for that. Yeah, they've been secret. I get that. As a religious leader myself, I get hate mail. So I can understand their apprehension of not coming out until everybody can come out. Because that way they can protect themselves and help each other. I think with anything, any council, especially, I'll use my covenant as an example. The Ericonian Tradition, they acknowledge the existence of witch queens and witch kings, which is strictly enforced that you may never, ever be something self-appointed. No solitary can acquire it unless they are appointed. You can be solitary all you want, and you can still be part of the community. But the thing is, it's a title that cannot be self-appointed. It must be nominated and unanimously voted in. They must be someone who has crafted extraordinary deeds. It must be someone who has had at least one coven that they lead, which is hived off. They still require the nomination. And I have recently received that nomination and been elected to that position for the Sacred Circle covens that I lead. With that, it does not make me any better. It does not make me a ruler. All it is another form of eldership for me to be advisor. I ask this again. Let's start working on unity. Despite our differences, despite our traditions, find our common grounds. And more importantly than anything, priests, priestesses, high priests, high priestesses, elders, and any other witch queen or witch king out there that have that in their traditions. Get out there and start inspiring people. Because if you don't, leading by example is not going to help us. A crucial time is coming, ladies and gentlemen, and it starts with us loving, putting aside petty differences, and realizing that we can change the world if we work together. Blessed be.